Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We're so glad you could join us tonight for a special live webinar on working with Live Edge. This session is hosted by the incredibly talented Lara Finley of Her Rough Hands and proudly sponsored by our friends at Exotic Woods. Thanks to them for helping make tonight possible. As always, we'll be taking your questions throughout the session, so drop them in the Q&A box and we'll get to as many as we can. Now I'll hand it over to Lara, and there you go.
Hi, once again, I'm Lara of Her Up Hands, and I am here with the amazing, one of the amazing managers of Exotic Woods. His name is Mel.
Hey, hello everyone. Welcome. I don't know, many of you might have been here, but we have amazing stuff here, and Live Edge is just one of them. But we're going to talk about Live Edge tonight.
And one little thing to take note of, we're having a little bit of volume issues. So if we're not talking loud enough, just give us the heads up. Just tell us to talk louder and we'd be happy to. So as Mel mentioned, we're talking about Live Edge material and different do-it-yourself projects and to the more advanced projects, more like boardroom tables, how to safely take off bark and the live edge of different materials, and different types of bark we'll be talking about. And we'll also be addressing how to do bow ties in the live edge to correct some errors.
Yeah.
And lots of other topics to touch upon. So we'll get started. And so we're just going to talk about taking off the bark first and foremost. So we're going to grab a piece of wood. And we have one right behind us. It's a piece of walnut, as you can see. And we're going to trim off this bark, and he's going to do it safely. And as mentioned, we always wear safety glasses. Always wear safety glasses.
All the time.
All the time. He's lucky. He has built-in safety glasses. So I'm going to, we're going to put it in a vise over here so it's tightly secure. You don't want the piece wobbling around. So you tightly clamp it in the vise so that it's not moving in any way. And as you can see, the bark. So one reason you take off the bark is because when you're doing, say I'm doing a piece like this, where I put two pieces of live edge beside each other and you put epoxy between it, if you leave much bark at all, sometimes the epoxy will pop off of that. So you want to be careful with that. So you want to take off, if possible, most of the bark so that you don't have that vulnerable edge. Another tip that I've learned is if the epoxy is opaque, like a solid color in there, sometimes I drill a few little holes with a drill inside the wood. So when the epoxy is pouring in, it slowly can grip the side of the material. So it's even like a tighter grip. And if you use slow drying epoxy, I find that better because it's like a thicker pour in one go. And it really securely will lock in that epoxy to the grain or to the bark. Okay, so now Mel will demonstrate.
Well, don't mind my draw knife. It's missing a handle. I cannot find my other one. Must be at home or somewhere. But here's an older one, which is a good oldie and a goodie. But I don't know if you guys can see that much here. You might want to change the angle a little bit like this. But there's a bunch of different ways. Some people are doing it with, if it's loose enough, you can just knock a much off by hand, or with even a hammer, a chisel. We have an old chisel there. But the easiest way is a draw knife. Not everybody's not going to have a draw knife, but you can just take it down as far as you want. Like what people want to take off the bark, the coarse edges, but sometimes they want to get past into the cambium, and that's usually where we take it to. And we do top. We take the bark right off, and then we I don't know, Lara, you won't show the bark off this piece, but you're taking it off.
But maybe we use another tool for some of the rest.
Yeah, and you could, but talking about that, with the live edge is if it's loose to start with, then it's most likely there's going to be spots all through the board that is loose. So you probably have to take it all off, and it looks better. Most of the time, when the bark is too coarse, doesn't take a finish nicely. You hooks on your clothing.
And you never want to take off too much bark in one go. So he's just doing slow passes. He's very experienced, so he's going to town on it. But if you're a do-it-yourselfer, I'd recommend just kind of drawing the knife towards you, and always be careful because when you're drawing the knife towards you, it's quite sharp. Another way I take off bark is even taking a nice sharp wide knife. And if the board is vertical, you can kind of pull it down, and that's away from your body too. So you always have to make sure when you're drawing the material, Don't take off too much at one time, and kind of, you'll get a feel for the bark to see which way the grain is kind of pulling, easier to take off. And I have a question for Mel. Why is some bark easier to take off than others?
Well, it has something to do with the species as well, but mostly to do with when it was sawn, when the trees were felled, the lumber was sawn. So if it's sawn in the winter time, it's most likely going to stay on a little harder, a little easier, a little harder to get off. But it's sawn in spring and summer, when the sap is running, then quite often the bark comes off easier. But you know, it's not always a given. That is usually the case. And then some species are just notoriously hard to get off, like hornbeam and other species. But walnut's usually one of the easier ones. And it's kind of fun. It's satisfying. You hear a nice little crunch and the sound, and it's almost satisfying. That's why I keep on going here.
It's almost meditational. You can grab a piece of wood and you could just take a straw knife and just slowly go at it. And as you can see, as he's going over kind of the waves of the board, you can see that you have to kind of read the grain properly so that you're not taking off too much. Or sometimes, let me just do one thing just to demonstrate. Just say if you're not experienced at it, you might be like pulling it and it's like stopping all of a sudden. So you just want to take off less strokes at one time and go with the grain. Go with the grain and always maybe stand aside from it. So when you're drawing it back, the blade is not going straight into your body.
And it's always better
nice and sharp.
Usually to go downhill is also a good idea. So you don't hook into the meat of it that you don't want to. But here we've taken it down just to the cambium part. So some people want to leave that.
So tell us more about what a cambium part is, because a lot of people that are watching, some of them are do-it-yourselfers. Yeah. So please.
The cambium is that layer where the life of the wood is in. It's right underneath the bark. So that's where where the sap runs, and it's that thin, skinny layer called the cambium. That's what we try to get things down. So that's why when the sap is running, that's why that area releases a lot easier, because it's got moisture in it. And then as the wood dries, it shrinks quicker.
Okay.
Because the moisture content in there, the bark shrinks faster for some reason, a greater extent.
Yeah. So
you get a little more release on it. But that's all because of the cambium. But if you want, you can leave that little skinny layer on. But we usually take it part way through, so you get kind of
a smoother edge.
But you also get a model kind of look. You don't get it all one unique color.
And we'll flip it up so everybody can see that. So what he's talking about is when you look at the grain, when he's taking it off, there's different layers. So some of it is darker brown than others. So you can read that some of the, some of the bark, and then some of it is.
Well, there's still a bit of the barky cambium right on there. You can see, right? So you can take it past and get it right to the sapwood, which is.
And sometimes I don't mind that look. If I take that like a wet finger, you can read that will stay like oil, nice and dark. So sometimes if you bring it all back to like the sap lighter wood, then it gets to be kind of a boring edge. So I like to leave a little bit of the dark bark on so that you see just a little edge, just a little.
This is what usually when we do pieces, like we mainly sell the lumber to people making pieces, but we do get commission the odd one we need to do in the shop, and we usually take care of it with this machine here after that.
Yeah.
And it's the
maybe
Makita.
We'll bring that to the more interesting one.
We can do that, or we should do it over there too. But with this one here, you can use it, and it's a little bit noisy. Oh. So ear protection is probably good, but
before we do that, we have some questions.
Huh?
Okay, Jen, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have a question that's timely. Are there certain types of wood that you don't want to keep the bark on?
Sorry, what was that?
So certain types of wood you don't want to keep the bark on. The reason why most of the time I would take off most of the bark is because over time it just loosens. So it's an attractive look. Like some people may coat it with a heavy coat of paraffin, sure, if it's a crafty project. But if it's like a project that you want to as a dining table or whatnot, I would probably do what Mel did, take off most of the bark, because over time that's just going to be a vulnerable edge where it's going to peel off anyways. But is there any time where you would actually leave the bark on?
You would use like wall hanging stuff.
Yeah,
it's more like if you're not touching, but if it's countertops, even shelves that are being used and I guess worn a bit, or people rubbing against it, usually you don't want to have it. It gets dirty and dusty after a while. Like I said, a lot of times it's sort of breaking up. It's on the floor. It's
vulnerable. It's a vulnerable edge. So, and like I said, with epoxy projects, when you're putting two pieces together, it's highly recommended that you don't leave too much bark inside there, because sometimes it almost causes like a heat barrier, like it pops it apart. So over time, even if there is like, it keeps it on tight for a while, it just sometimes makes it work against the epoxy in a bad way.
But on that line too, as you're talking, there's a reason you don't do it, because you're gonna get your whole epoxy's hanging onto this thin bark area, right? And it's not near as strong as the solid wood itself. So your epoxy is relying on your bark never to fail. And if your bark does start to fail, then you can just pull that piece apart and epoxy stuck to the bark and not to your piece of work.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we are going to,
We're gonna do this live edge. This is how we usually clean them up with this machine here. Normally I have some,
what's this machine called?
it's a Makita, just it's a, I think, I don't know, it's not called a restore, it's just a Makita brushing machine. It comes with steel or nylon, or I guess some grit nylon brushes, and which is, I think this is an 80. So, and we just do it with this one.
I'm gonna put on my glasses and watch.
Oh, we need some power.
We need some power.
What the heck?
Maybe one of the extension cords doesn't work. Can you imagine the time we found it?
No, we just tested it. There, this was unplugged.
Okay, perfect. Oh, it's one of them. Okay, perfect. We have power. We have power.
So you just put it over here. And quite often you'll have this has got a dust extraction port here. You put your vacuum on there. We're just doing a slight redemption, so we're not going to eat too much of the dust. You can stop whenever you want.
And if you can actually feel this, the neat thing it does, it almost causes texture, like a fine little hairline texture in the wood. That is a really interesting finish. Just ever so slightly, it almost feels like scratches in the wood, but in a very smooth manner. So it's very attractive. And it will make it easy if this becomes like a table edge or anything where you're actually kind of resting your hands on it in any way. It softens the edge a little bit, which is quite nice.
Yeah, it does give another nicer look to it with the brushes. So we have that one. There's also one called a Restorer, which we found lately, and it's a little less costly and has a few more parts for it. So this machine works really well too. So in most cases, you can get away with this machine here.
And this is neat. Mel's son is like an expert wood person over next door. I don't know how to just, he's a wood expert, okay? And he described the difference between the machines, and he highly recommends the second machine because A, it's cost effective. It's more like a couple $100 to get that machine. And then the Makita here is more like $600. And he pointed out when you replace these pads here, they're a couple $100 if you replace them with the Makita, whereas the slightly less expensive brand over here, this one is a couple $100, and obviously the pads would be relatable to that. They would be more affordable. So it's very similar, and he pointed out that it comes with a lot of accessories, like a sanding accessory, different sanding pads. So this is going to be more rough in some cases and more textured. It's going to give you a slightly different texture on the edge.
That'll be like this one will be a bit smoother because that one's got these sanding pads. But anyway, either or, you don't even have to have those pieces of them. You can do the live edge just with a wire brush afterwards, which we brought a wire brush in here.
Yeah.
Wherever it went.
Yeah.
Just an old wire brush. This is an old, we don't use it much because we have all this power stuff. But if you don't have that, you can easily do it with a wire brush.
So always clamp it down tight. That's first and foremost.
You can wire brush to get it off, but you can also just use your sander. A lot of people are sanding with an orbital sander and taking off, making a sort of mottled look. No, just taking a mottled look. You have some light color, some dark. It looks it's sharp. You can really, there's no way wrong or right way to do it. If you like the look of it, stop where it is, and if you want to leave more bark on, leave some on or take it off. But it's just all that part of that live edge, natural edge look, right?
And one other thing, when using this machine, this brand over here, there's different settings here, like a max volume and a slower volume. So kind of just feel it out. When you're using this machine, I highly enjoyed using it. And you want to go with the grain. Like I'll just point out the wrong way of doing it. You don't stand this way, you go along the grain when it's on, obviously. And the brand name for this is Restorer. And I'll show you the bag so you can actually see the colors of the logo and everything. Restorer, making old new again. That is what it says on the bag here. And so it has it's a dark green bag with a red logo. It's quite
we like it. We like it. But we've had this one for years and years, like 10, 12, 15 years.
Actually, because when I was in the shop, I had one of these 10 or 12 years ago. And it was about 500 back then, and Adam was saying it's over 600 now in some cases, or probably more because he's had this for a
Sometimes you can buy
while.
them rebuilt too.
Yeah, refurbished and everything.
But those are just two parts of the live edge like tools that you can buy and use, but you don't need them. They're just an add accessory if you want to get it done a little quicker and stuff. A lot of you can do by hand. Same with this. If you want to do more, you just flip this one over to this side, but you can do it all with the sander.
And also, if you have a grinder, another thing, a lot of I find do-it-yourselfers often have 4-inch grinders. So you just put on like a wood grinding disc and you would stroke it with the grade. In this case, it's a lot of materials flying at you. So I would probably obviously wear my safety glasses and I would wear a dust mask because a lot of the time breathing in this fine dust is incredibly bad for your lungs. So make sure you wear the proper equipment, eye protection, and a mask. And that would be great.
For sure.
But yeah, grinder takes it off very efficiently. Like you mentioned, an orbital sander can do it. But sometimes an orbital sander, like you have to go with a pretty aggressive grit. And you don't want to go too much sanding because then sometimes you're sanding it right back to the bare wood. With all these kind of material, all these like pieces of equipment he was using, he was stroking it off. So he's gauging how much bark we should be taking off.
Yeah, it's great. And you can, like I said, you can go past, and a lot of people take it right past the cami and have it all white matching the live edge. It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
So another thing we're going to address is how to actually like fix some repairs in wood. So in this case, I was creative. Like this is like just a wall hanging piece right here. And I didn't correct the bow tie. I just put epoxy. I put epoxy in the crack. But we're going to go over in cases where there's cracks, sometimes over time, a little crack that may start may travel down and actually jeopardize the integrity of the wood, like make it vulnerable in that spot. So you always want to make sure that you correct that. So in this case, I got away with something. I just taped off both edges and I poured epoxy down, and I would have put tape all behind it. I used like a foil aluminum tape so that it makes sure that the epoxy, if their epoxy has anywhere to travel to, it's going to travel like away from the piece and fall on the ground. So you want to tape up all the back of the crack and on the edge of the crack. And then you pour in the epoxy into the crack. And in some cases, if you don't want the epoxy to go everywhere, you could tape along the crack and just allow the epoxy just to run through the channel. And another product, if it's just like little pieces of wood here and there, like little, say, just divots in the wood that you want to correct, there is a product called Star Bond that I like. You just drip it in.
You need CA glue. Like we have a
Yeah, perfect. Describe it. Describe it.
Anorak glue. It's just a 2-part. It's not even a 2-part. You can use it. It's just you drip it on. Everybody probably sees it. It's Crazy Glue is a brand that started years ago, and CA glues are used extensively for plastic and wood. You just drop them on there. You can. We fill up a little bit of dust first. We grab it. You sand it, pack it full of dust first, and then you drop on the thinner one of the two, and it'll dry, and you'll see a little, I guess, smoke coming off it or steam coming off whatever it's creating. And it'll harden up right away, and you can sand it. But it does go a little darker than the wood itself.
Be mindful of that. So sometimes maybe a trick might be you put in a slightly lighter sawdust, because like he's saying, when it reacts to the wood, when it finishes, it goes a little deeper. So be mindful of that. And then tell us more about if somebody in such a healthy crack, maybe you would have used a bow tie. Describe how maybe somebody would go about using a bow tie.
It depends if you want that look or not. Like we've done them in the shop many times. A lot of times the customers say we don't want to see the bow tie, but we want it for strength, so we do them on the bottom.
And go halfway through the material.
You go about halfway through the material. You just chisel them out. Really, some guys have a router jig and they do rounded corners. We like the traditional way of a sharp corner.
I like it. Yeah.
So you just square them up with a chisel. We should have had one here to show them, but
But
we make them on the bandsaw, just out of ebony or out of more of the same species. Some people like them, or they make them out of brass and metal. Just a bow tie.
Bow tie looks, guys.
Just a real bow tie. And it's pretty simple. You can put them in there, and some people like the look. But it's faddish to a degree. People are fading away from it. They want to see it hidden or not see it all.
And sometimes you use a bow tie and like a contrasting color. Like he said, either you want to exaggerate the bow tie or make it subtle and put it on the back of the material. So when you do a bow tie, like personally, if I'm going to go to all that extent and make a bow tie, I like it to be contrasting. But you have to pay attention to which grain direction you make the bow tie so that it doesn't become vulnerable and snap on you. And you want to pay attention to how you're putting in the material, because the idea is that the wood is expanding and contracting, so the bow tie is holding it together, in other words. So, do we have any questions about like fixing cracks or flaws in live edge, Jen? Okay, that's okay. Do you have any other question? Like,
Yeah, I'm just feeling this here. This is the reason why I don't leave the bark.
do you feel?
Don't leave the bark on the inside. Feel this? See this?
Yeah.
So your whole piece is held together by this little layer of bark along here. And
Yeah.
it doesn't take the finish as well either, right?
No.
You see it's getting fading. This holds your finish. This is what an Osmo on here.
Back in the day. No, back in the day, this would have been like, this probably would have been an oil coat. I made this piece probably about 5 years ago. So, I probably just used mineral spirit. Mineral oil.
So yeah, what happens is this bark here does not take the finish as well. And you can see it's really light and faded. So this is, when she wasn't looking, I was trying to see.
No,
Just checking to see
don't
if I
do
can
that.
break it.
Leave
But,
it alone.
so I would take, if you're doing this kind of thing, take the bark off, pick some funky pieces that have really cool live edge, like this, you know, something that's got a funky live edge. So that'll hold well. And it looks really cool when you put it in a live edge product on the inside. Like this piece on in
So
general.
what type of wood is that?
This is maple burl, big leaf maple burl.
Maybe go right up to the camera and show them exactly.
How sharp it is. It's pretty intense stuff, but we do have that in big slabs as well. So you can make those river type tables with this on the inside.
There you go.
You'd want to take it on, if you did it on the outside, you want to take those down and you hook your clothing on quite easily.
And maybe even that tool that we're using before the brush, sometimes it's not a bad idea to kind of use a brush to take off some of the finer, pointier bits here, because he's right. If that was on the edge of a table in any way, that would scratch your hand nicely and it would hurt you. So you would want to bring those down and just kind of soften the edge.
Yeah.
Jen, do we have any questions?
Let's see here. Nope, not at this moment.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, I should say there is a question, and I think it's for Mel.
Okay.
Do you have any curly quartz-on white oak?
Jim, we don't. Jim, we don't have any
There
curly
you go.
quarters.
Is that someone you know?
No, I don't know Jim. I will not admit that I know Jim.
Mel is a very, very busy person, so I'm happy he's taking the time out of his busy schedule, and people are finding him during the webinar to ask him.
Thanks for watching there, Jim.
Okay, there is one more question. When making a bow tie, does the grain of the bow tie run the same as the wood or run 90 degrees to the wood?
Usually 90 degrees to the wood. It's usually, that's for the strength of it. So I would do it 90 degrees to the wood, but you're always got the little weak corners of the bow ties, right? These corners are always weak because the grain's going to be running this way. But once you put them in place, they should be fine. So but the strength is right there going across the grain that way. And they look kind of cool that way too, right? The grain was going that way.
Yeah, so it's contrasting the grain, and the grain of the wood is going this way, this way. So it's expanding, contracting the opposite way. So make sure you pay attention when you're cutting out these bow ties. The grain should be traveling this way. If it's this way, it's just going to snap on you. So you have to be mindful of that. And also, another neat way of doing bow ties is you can make a jig for them and then use a router and like router most of it out. And then take a chisel to the end bits here. And then you gently, ever so gently knock them into the material. So that's what holds the material. And sometimes you make it like a hairline higher than the wood. So then you lightly sand it all flush at the end. And
or you angle these slightly to the inside.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, so
it gets tighter as it goes in.
It lodges it nice and tight. Yes.
Or you just make it bigger and fill lots of epoxy on it too. It's all.
Or wood dust. Yeah, wood dust works too. If it's not perfect, it's all about doing it yourself and getting started on projects. So we're encouraging you to try your first bow tie. It's fun and exciting. So you literally just draw it out on a piece of wood. You can make them different like different sizes, but most of them keep them like looking like a bow tie. And then you travel them along the crack here. Like you travel the bow tie, like let's say I started big, medium bow tie, small, and then I would router them all out and then gently tap them all in. And then another neat thing, some people even source out bow ties and make them like brass, like metal finishes, which is a really like interesting look. It's not as easy to finish because metal obviously sands differently than wood. So it's going to have a different level, but it's a very sharp look. Looks good.
It does, but you got to polish the metal at a different rate.
Yes. It's a pain in the butt. That's what Mel is trying to say, but it's a good look. Okay.
It is.
And is there any other ways you think that people can repair cracks in wood that you can think of?
What you did here is fun. We do a lot of them just like this. They dam it up. And a good thing to do with any of your epoxy floors, which everybody knows, is do them while you're in the shop. Don't do them and go home. Because there's so many people go home and then they come there and then they go, oops, I guess I had a hole in my epoxy of my dam and it's on the floor.
Oh, it's terrible. Yes, that's what.
But you can do it this way. You just tape it up like Lara said. We use tuck tape, or you can use aluminum tape.
Yeah.
And you just make a little bit of a dam at the end and fill it up. And a lot of people put like you said, a little caulking around the edge. And when they do this one too, they'll put caulking down here. And just wait till that cures, and then the epoxy doesn't get everywhere, right?
And sometimes an idea is to slightly do a deeper pour. In my case, like I slightly go a little hairline higher than the wood line, because it shrinks and it goes into the wood. So the next day, sometimes you might realize, oh crap, it's not flush to the surface of the wood. So if you just make it a hairline higher, it allows for that like wood to sink in slowly. And would you recommend fast drying or slow drying epoxy mill?
Well, the fast dry, it depends on you fast dry. Some of them are going to give you, 5 or 6 hours pot life, and other ones give you more than a day or something, a few minutes. I just, if you're gonna do it overnight, do the longer cure.
Yeah.
Slower cure. You don't have to do the fast cure unless you're in a huge hairbrush. But
and I find if it's the slow cure, I find personally it's more durable. Like it's a harder finish. Like you can dig your nail into it and there's going to be no factor there. And another thing that I like to do is actually tint the epoxy a little bit. I don't want to run it in clear. I'll use like an Indian ink or something like to tint it so that it's not such, like in this case, I'm sorry. I want to make it sometimes more black so that it almost stands out, because if it looks like clear epoxy, it does look like a mistake, whereas this kind of looks like a design element.
we have all hundreds or dozens of colors too for the tinting.
You can almost make it look like wood grain, so you can almost make it look like
Another common one here is the one we did like a pearl, and it gives a little
pearlescent kind of look.
Pearlescent kind of.
And to do something like this board here, I put leaves in the channel here, and I did one of these demonstrations on epoxy before where you make like a cradle for it, where it sits in the board with these two pieces. And I did 1/4 shallow pour at the beginning, and then I let that cure, and then I placed the objects in this case, it's leaves. And then I let that cure, and then I did another pour on top, so that when you're sanding, you're not actually sanding into the leaf in any way or whatever on the cork, like say it's like corks or whatever.
The leaves have to be dry, right? Leaves have to be totally dry.
Yes, dry. I often would do this type of project in the fall so that it's actually pretty colors of the leaves. So if you did it during like this season, it would just be green leaves. So it's kind of nice to have like burgundy leaves kind of. So that's an idea there.
And make sure they're dry. They have to be dry.
Dry. Any other questions, Chad, by any chance? Yeah, tell us.
Let's see here. I don't think so. There's just a little funny one, I think, directed for you, Lara. I think Jim started something. Lara, why do they call it live edge when the tree wood is dead?
We were discussing that. So it's, yes, it is ironic to call something live edge when it is dead. We were discussing that before we started talking about the webinar. We were saying how it should better be called natural edge.
Yeah, natural is a better word.
Live edge is kind of an ironic term when it is dead. So it is, it's just an ironic saying.
No, it's taken off as live edge, but natural edge is more common or more accurate, I would say.
Yeah, but a lot of people.
The real terminology is boule sawn, so that's way ahead of the time.
Spell that for us. Do you know?
No. It should be B-O-U-L-E. Boule.
Okay, everybody look that up eventually. And do we know what background that is? Like what that's like?
Well, that's a good question. It's probably English.
English, the derivative. We're thinking, we're not sure, but that is good to know.
You can look it up and tell us what boule stands for. But boule sawn is sawn to the logs. And this is the way lumber used to always be done. Like North America sort of taken on in hundreds of years ago, the square edge lumber. But normally in Europe, it was all boule sawn lumber. You go and find a log in the lumber yard that's been aged and stickered for sometimes a dozen years or more.
Yeah.
And you pick your slabs out and you build a piece of furniture. It's all from the same log, same color. So they call it a boule. So you pick from the boule. That's how they used to do it. So this live edge was, I don't know, there must be records of being used years ago as well, but it started with our place, I would say, in the 1990s. It was when we started to get these big live edge slabs. like, I don't know if we're able to go over there and look at that big ones there.
I would
These are
love
the
to.
slabs we started with our really live edge originally at the old shop, which was on Industrial Street. Some of you can remember, but that was
I do.
back in the early 2000s, I guess late 90s, early 2000s, we started bringing these big African species like Babenga, Hadouk, Wenge, Sedua, Sifo, and Sapili. And
When
here's
did you guys start Exotic Woods? How many years ago?
1978.
1978, and your dad started it, right?
Yep.
And now his son is a part of it, Mel is part of it, his brother is part of it,
His
brother-in-law,
son, my son,
your son, yeah.
but I'm my dad's son.
Yes, there's a lot of generations at Exotic Woods.
So this is Babenga. This is
Isn't it
one of our
beautiful?
favorites. This is sort of all started. We sold some many slabs like this. Some are as wide as 7 feet. One piece, 7 feet wide, 84.
It makes for a very large tray.
Exactly.
Think of that center, the
The
tray,
color,
it's gigantic. Yeah. Right. Oh, would you like to finish the answer?
No, we don't, you can do the thing, but it's just a loud, noisy machine. We don't need to do much. This
Okay,
thing.
look how beautiful this wood is.
So normally you don't recommend always water, but a little bit of water won't hurt. But you can see the beautiful colors in here.
Wow. And that's just with a clear coat in theory in
Yeah.
the future. You don't even have to tint the coat in any way.
No.
If you did want to disguise the sapwood to the heartwood a little bit, then you might put a little tint in the lacquer just to soften.
I don't know, if you buy Babenga and you color it, then there's probably, there's probably a special place for you.
How much, what is square foot, like, what's the board square foot price for something like this?
Well, Babenga has, since it's on CITES Appendix 2, it's a little more difficult to get now.
Okay,
But all the stuff we have is certified and everything, but it's probably in the mid 40s of board foot now, when it used to be when we first
Wow.
started in the low 20s. So
I think I bought it in the 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
you have a Babenga slab at home?
I had for a client, not
Oh.
so much for me. Like, I had a couple clients. The cool projects that you can make out of Babenga with live edge. I did a waterfall table where you cut it, say it's a long slab like this, say this slab is like 12 feet long.
Yep.
And each leg is roughly 30 inches. So you cut it at 30 inches and then you put a 45 and you bend it over so that this grain runs up, over and over again. So it's one piece. And then what we did actually, because the board was shorter, because Babenga is a premium and we could only afford one leg. it was one of my best friend's projects. We did the leg was 30 inches, the return was probably 6 feet.
Yep.
And then we did more like a railway, like a metal leg
you
on
could
the
do
other
it.
side, which was kind of interesting and attractive as opposed to 2 chunky legs. So there's different projects you can always make out of this. And this is a table my best friend loves to this day. It's a stunning piece. You have to be watchful because sometimes this live edge, as you can see, is quite wide. So it's eating away at a lot of your table space. So be mindful when you're choosing lumber. Do you want like a wide live edge like this where it's very angled? Because your plates are only going to be in this much space. Like he pointed out, this is a narrow board.
More like a
But
sideboard table, right?
but it's a stunning piece. Like I would say it would be like good for a conference table. My friend did pick it, but maybe if it had more of a less angle on the bark, like you can choose your board.
I would turn it over.
obviously.
That's like, when it comes to a live edge log, you're gonna get, the premium boards are gonna be not the center one, because you have a heart check in it, and that's pretty square, but the next two up got the nicest live edge, so
Yeah.
two on both sides of it. And
Yeah.
as you get closer to the top, the live edge gets greater and a bigger angle. So,
Yes, this is. like
now
a
that live
healthy
edge
angle.
isn't as popular as it used to be, people are starting to turn them over. And then you got,
I think that's a pity. Like, I think
No, it's
that's
not, because
terrible.
don't you remember the old furniture used to be that, some had that thumbnail edge, but some had that heavy taper? And
Yeah,
it's becoming popular right now.
I
People want to make these big tables that look like they're really thin, but they're really
I
heavy.
get it, I
So you
get
take-
it.
so there we go, you got it done naturally.
But sometimes just say you, Mel and I were discussing this, that some people may say live edge is slowly going out of style, but my argument is those who love live edge will always love live edge. It's like a natural figure that's so beautiful that
Yeah.
it will retain itself. Like everybody goes in and out of fashion, sure, but live edge, if you love it, use it. That's my comment.
Yeah, we should, I agree, because there's, look how much is here.
I think you should
There's
come
lots
to
here.
Exotic Woods and look at all the
There's
live
lots here.
lumber over here. There's tons of it.
Or,
And there's a huge selection of.
what you
it's
do
so
is you get a big
boards.
enough top. And then
Yes, you were gonna say this, yeah.
Then you stick a live edge, you cut it off.
So what he's saying is, that's crazy talk to me too. You pay for a live edge board.
Yep.
And then in the future, if you get sick of it, and some people do, then you can trim off the sides. So you have to be mindful. Let's say a dining table is typically, I'm making up a size here. Let's say it's 6 feet, 72 inches. Then width-wise, you want to be at least at 36 inches. But if you know you're going to trim it down in the future, maybe buy like a 42-inch table, knowing you're going to trim it to a 36 and take off the angled edges. So lots of projects, and let's go over to some of these projects. Oh.
Well, what it is, we've never opened it up yet. We just got some new live edge in from Oregon.
Open it up?
So a year ago, we were in Oregon cutting these logs. And now we're gonna look at them. They just came in back from the sander. So then we're going to just cut these bands off here. And this stuff is so neat. So myrtle only grows in a certain part of Oregon, and a little bit of California. And so it's mainly called Oregon myrtle. It has a pepperwood's another name for it. It's a nice sweet smell to it. Peppery smell. We see a little paper towel.
So look at all this figure in the wood here. It's beautiful. You can see all the burrows.
Put so much water if you have to put it back in the kiln now.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's bringing out the lovely intensity of the wood.
So this is neat. Burl's always fascinating. Burl always creates a neat vibe to it. And this is used for instrument building, used for just craft work, even charcuterie boards you can use it for. So this one logs we cut up. There's a way we can post. I got some of the pictures of it. We could show some of the pictures of it being cut up. People are interested, but this is myrtle. This one's myrtle as well. Take that up too. And this is big leaf maple. So that's quilted.
So as you can see, a lot of these live edges are differing. Like some of them are more interesting and some of them look quite straight. So it's up to you if you want a board that's more has a wow edge, let's call it, as opposed to a straight edge.
We didn't really buy it necessarily for the live edge.
True. I'm just pointing out.
But since we're talking live edge,
yeah,
like this, you can't beat the figure of
wow,
big leaf maple.
incredible.
And these are logs that were sawn mainly for the music instrument industry, and they are particular on color.
Yeah.
So then we pick the logs after that, and we pick them for the beauty of it, not so much instruments. And then this way you get the good quilt like this, right? And you get the quilting and you get the color.
And it's interesting because the board will look kind of like not as interesting, but you put a little bit of water on it and look how much it comes to life.
Yeah, there's some beautiful stuff in here. There is some quarter sawn in here as well that we're going to use instrument stuff with in the myrtle. But we don't quarter saw quilted maple ever.
No, you never
No.
focus on it? And why is that?
Because it turns into curly maple then.
Oh, there you go.
Tiger
You
maple.
learn
So-
something
so
every
You
day.
have to flat saw quilted maple to get the figure. You have to, and what a bird's eye, you can't quarter saw either.
No, yeah.
Because the eyes, so all this figure comes,
The eyes, so bird's eye maple, for those who don't know, it looks like tiny little eyes all over a piece of wood. And it has a really cool flick. So look up bird's eye maple and you'll see the cool design that he's talking about. But he's saying if you cut it on the wrong angle, the eyes would just look
you
wacky.
quarter saw, you won't get,
Quarter
you just get lines, you're gonna get lines.
Slides. It would no longer be bird's eyes anymore.
So built in school, so there's some beautiful stuff in here, some more in here too. This one's
Oh,
got,
come look at this.
this one's got some heartwood in the middle. So this heartwood, you can tell it's starting to go a little bit already. It's cool. You could probably stabilize with epoxy, but this is starting to get a bit soft. So
if you-
as this tree was growing, the center, a lot of times these trees start to decay as they get older. That's why trees don't live forever. So quite often they'll decay in the middle.
Yeah.
And this one you could solidify it with epoxy for sure. And but you can feel that some of these areas are soft.
It almost has texture. So
Yeah.
those that don't know what's going on, you can almost see like there's texture in the material here, but I actually find it super neat.
It
Like,
is neat, but it is a form of decay. So
It is.
It is decaying. So that's why this tree was dying. That's probably why it came down. And you get some
How
cool
would you
figure-
correct that? Like if
epoxy. This is where you're,
This is
yeah,
my
just-
specialty.
yeah, that's you put a frame it and fill it with a full epoxy and harden it up. You can do a funky color, but it's probably got enough color on its own.
Beautiful.
And then you get, but the myrtle is not a well-known wood, but it is a beautiful wood.
And spell myrtle for those people that want to look it up.
It's got a Y in it.
Yeah,
Myrtle with a Y.
like Myrtle Beach, guys.
There we go.
Myrtle Beach. That's how you
Perfect.
spell it.
It doesn't even grow in Myrtle. It doesn't even grow in Myrtle Beach.
No, but that's a spelling. I thought it would be spelled like that.
You're asking the wrong guy to spell things.
It's all good. A lot of people look up information. Tell us more. So how long ago did you actually, you said you actually went?
Chris and I went to Oregon in June of last year to buy and cut logs. So we cut all these logs. There's a bunch more over there. Like these burls we cut as well. These are burls. We cut burls and we cut slabs. And now this is still drying. These need a bit more drying though. They're beautiful, but they need a bit more drying. These mainly we got for making turning blocks, turning pepper mills. This would be awesome. This is nice. This is another part of live edge is when you get this natural edge, you got to pick this stuff out. So you can't use any of those pieces of equipment over there for this. You need to get yourself tools I didn't bring with.
Even like a chisel and knock it off.
Well, you can do it with this, right?
You don't want to.
You definitely need your
detail of the material. That's
no, you don't.
Like it's sensitive. Like Chad, if we go over here, you'll see more of how the figure looks.
Well, the nature.
So you don't want to actually take off like if you're knocking it with some sort of blunt object like a knife to get it off, you run the risk of knocking the pretty points off. So
some guys use dental picks. They use dental picks and little picks, and they just take it out. And this is where they do, like we a lot of people making duck calls, so they'll make a form. Cool. They put half wood and half epoxy.
Oh, nice.
And turn it. It looks really good. So they make duck calls, pepper mills. They're all done with this kind of stuff.
Even pens.
Yeah, pens. They're pretty tiny though. You can't. Yeah, they do like all the Ben's is just the big market still, but this kind of stuff is a little bit broad, like big.
Yeah. For the
tight burns. I mean, it's good. But that's part of the stuff we cut there.
Another thing he pointed out with this is notice how these straps are loose. The wood at one point was nice and tight in here, but because there was water still in some of the pieces, it slowly drained, and as it shrinks, it's now this loose.
You can tell your lumber's dry.
That's great. That means it's
these-
solid
these-
lumber
these
that will
logs
not be
are-
affected later.
These logs are already a year and a half on the ground, at least before we started cutting.
But
So
it's still surprising
you'd be
that
surprised
much
when
material.
you cut the log that old, it's still got 30% in it, moisture, and then it sort of. It's probably now about 15 to 18%, and maybe in the core areas.
So when is it safe? What moisture content should stuff be?
For furniture should be,
Furniture, yeah.
you know, some species you get away with 10%, but that's pushing it, because the places are so dry now. That's the biggest problem with our condos and these big homes they're building. A lot of times they don't have any humidification in there at all. Everything's drying out. But so the drier you get it, most of our lumber you're going to get here is going to be 7 to 8%, 7 to 9% moisture. You don't want any drier than that either. You want some moisture still like that.
One of my best friends at Sheridan College, she did a project that her dad had like dried in the barn and for years and years and years. And she made a beautiful, I think like dovetail cabinet, and it all snapped apart. Like so much time and effort. And it was a stunning piece. It was probably the best project of the year. But if you don't bring down the material to a proper temperature, all of that goes to waste. So be very mindful.
That's why you got to buy from reference places.
You have to buy from places like Exotic Woods, where the content of the moisture is very exact and there will be no cracks in the future.
But that's the biggest thing during this live edge thing that we're talking about, live edge during the craze. There was everybody and their uncle was doing live edge, especially COVID, because we had nothing to do. So bandsaw mills were stepping up. Everybody was selling their garage, and we took so many pieces in and we had to try to straighten out our equipment. It was not dry properly. So, I can buy it for, a quarter to a third the price. Well,
be very careful when you're buying, like you say, wood from different places. Yet again, I bought like for a project for one of my clients, I bought the wood from the wrong place, and when I used like a finish on it, it all ate away at the finish, and right away it was checked.
What's the season? So seasoning properly, wood is proper, and then storing it properly. So people say it's kiln dry, but it's sitting in the garage.
That's not
it's
good.
Not kiln dry anymore. I bought wood that's 30 years old in a garage at 30%. It doesn't go. It was too humid in there. Yeah, it's old. It's still hasn't released the moisture. It never got dry.
Just wanting to know, is there any questions or anything, Jen, or are we good?
We are good to go.
We're good?
Oh, yeah, we're
we
good.
Have a question.
No, we're good.
Okay, so good.
So this is our weed tree, we call it here, Manitoba maple or box elder, we like to call it, because it sort of sounds more unique. But this is a great figure and stuff, and it's got usually lots of pink in it. So this you can see the figures in there. But this is mainly for the wood turning market or the.
So that's a natural edge. When you turn that back,
real natural.
It had like pink inside the grain.
This bark could be hard to get off. This was cut, probably a winter cut, and the bark is on there really good. But they quite often, when you buy the burl, they will cut the burl green and they'll power wash it off. So
when you cut the burl green, that means it's pretty fresh.
It's dry. It's fresh, yeah. So then we power wash it off, and it gets it like that. That would have been power washed off when the wood was fresh.
So these pieces basically go to this, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, that's
When
big
they're
leaf
nice and
maple.
clean?
That's big leaf maple, but this is Manitoba or box elder. So they're very similar. The points, matter of fact, on this box elder can be even sharper than the maple.
And this is
Okay.
sharp, like I don't know if you can get it
Yeah,
on
this
this
one
right
is sharp.
angle, but
This was, you can see this is water taken off with a power washer. Like,
So,
a lot of guys-
power washer is nice because it's not gonna rip away
it
all the
can. A lot of
detail.
guys have it at over 3,000 PSI and you'll start tearing up the cambium through the cambium into this soft layer here. So you gotta be careful.
You wanna keep all that texture. I don't know if you can read that on the
Yeah.
camera, but it almost looks like ripples of water.
It's neat. Yeah,
Pretty,
the
right?
little burled caps and stuff. You know, you can do all sorts of stuff with that.
And another piece, I wanna venture into the shop for 1 second.
Okay.
I wanna show them the piece that you absolutely love. That piece that
Oh.
we showed over there.
Yes.
So come, look at the exotic woods. Look at this beautiful warehouse. Look how much lumber is in the aisle. Oh, and another thing to point out, Mel, is a lot of the time when sometimes with trees, I don't think we have any of them. All the pieces are almost cut from one log. So I'm trying to find an example of this.
There's one right there.
Is this
So
one?
this is a log that came out of Oakville. This is red maple.
So they're all in order, all in
There's
sequence a
somewhat
lot
there. I
of the
think one or
time.
two is missing, but this is red maple that came from Oakville. So this was cut years ago.
So you do that, so if you have one job, like a client's job, and you want all the color of the wood to look similar, you try to get it all
Yeah,
in
you
one
have-
tree.
And with live edge is not so particular, but you do definitely book matches, right? You're not gonna
Yeah.
get a lot of slabs, one piece tops.
Mhm.
So we do book matches, so you like to have them in sequence, right? So that's where you get them in sequence. But
Come.
I still a lot of wood searching. This is my son put his name on here, but I don't know if he's gonna, we can take that off, but this is a really cool figure. You don't see that too often. When I saw that log,
Stunning.
I said, I need to have that. That's figured sugar maple.
Slowly, I'm gonna buy it off of Jeff here.
But the sad part is most of the log sort of decay too much in the middle, so you get a lot of rot in the middle, but the outside bit is super spalted and super figured.
It almost looks like an alligator,
But
like
that's
a,
one
like a
sad part.
dinosaur.
That's one sad part about logs, when they start to spalt, the figure just disappears. That's amazing. It's just like, I've seen super curly logs when they start to spalt, you'll see black map lines and stuff,
Yeah,
but the figure just goes
can't
away.
go away.
It's just sad.
isn't that a beauty?
It looks
Still
like
think
a
it's a beauty.
skin, I don't know, it reminds me of a rhinoceros.
Yeah,
skin or
like an
something.
animal,
Yes.
right? Like a dinosaur, having a picture. And then look at this live edge right here. Like this is a wider live edge, kind of,
It's just old fast with those, nothing's fancy, but it's basswood.
but that's a cool live edge. And we have a lot of
I don't
live
know why
edge.
we have live edge basswood, but we do.
If you need bass, guys,
Maybe for the wood carvers, yeah, you get funky
there's
stuff,
so much.
stuff like that too, that the termites have eaten, right? And then you get this neat look too from that. So
But
you can,
sometimes it's cool just to have like an art project
yeah,
like that.
exactly. You can do, there's endless things that can be done with live edge. Chechen, poison wood, people like this because it's called poison wood, but I don't know why it's called poison wood, but you guys can probably find out. But that's a cool one too.
Hopefully it's not because it's poisoning us.
No. Someone said it's nothing to do with poison darts. They make their poison darts from it.
Oh, that's a neat
That's what I
concept.
heard. We call it Chechen, but it's got lots of color, lots of chatoyancy too. I don't have a finished picture of one here, but it's got that tiger's eye. Like there's a number of species that have this chatoyance and tiger's eye. You know what chatoyance is from the tiger's eye?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what creates. You polish this up, you'll get that chatoyance to it.
There's another wood you guys have called tiger wood.
Yeah, tiger wood, but it's not, doesn't, but it doesn't have the depth. This one does. It's really heavy. But yeah, we don't have the water here, so we can't spray it.
Grab the water.
You will?
You keep talking 2 seconds.
Okay, that's no problem. So check. Don't mind this dust on here. We get some of that around here, but that's a cool one. And there's another one over here to this side here. That is the Wenge. It's another big live edge one that we do a lot of. Is the Wenge. It's a nice deep color. Do you know what,
I've done shelf.
I got a
coated
question
it,
for you,
which is
Lara.
really pretty. Yeah.
Lara?
Tell me. Tell me. Mel.
What is almost, I would say, the least common color of lumber, of wood?
I'm going to go with green
No.
as beer wood. I would definitely say there's only
You
one.
know what it almost is? It's not, it's almost brown.
Oh, just natural brown? You're
Brown,
saying?
there's not enough brown
Like
woods,
chestnut?
there's not enough brown woods in the world. I bet you couldn't name 10 brown woods.
Let's test out those people out there.
That's
Chestnut. Walnut.
Chestnut's not brown.
I'm just teasing you. I just want to start naming off woods.
There's not enough brown wood. People always say wood's brown and it's not.
And it's so funny, like people think cherry wood is stained to like a burgundy stain and mahogany is a burn. Like it's our interpretation of what we think wood should look like.
Yeah.
The stains are all thrown
There's-
off, like
there's more-
natural
there's
cherries,
more
more
yellows
pinkish
and red.
tone, yeah, like when we do a walnut stain, a lot of the time when you do a walnut stain, you tint it a little bit, so you disguise because I find it turns a little orangey, like teak color.
Yeah, well, most people didn't like that. For a while, nobody wanted anything red.
No,
Like
yeah.
lumber is faddish for sure. Brown is still in and white is in. But the Chechen is a cool one. So I really like it. And
Sure.
so there's a piece of these are only roughly finished, but they have well, you can't really see it as well as I like you to see it in here, but it's a gorgeous wood.
Very pretty.
It has usually a bit of a crossfire in it, but it also has it doesn't take much of a polish to get it to look like a tiger's eye. And it's good dense wood. It's not super expensive.
Beautiful.
It's for your next project.
Another, I'll just be picking this up right now. Another thing to point out is sometimes if you're on a budget and you don't want to get one wide live edge piece, sometimes you laminate boards together and you make the two outside pieces live edge.
Yeah, and you infill it.
And you infill it with just straight boards. And sometimes Mel's company will actually sell, like from the Mennonites, like tabletops that you can, if you're just do it yourself or and you just want to experiment, you would get a tabletop, you tell them the size, you add the cast iron legs, and you can build like yourself a beautiful live edge table.
But it's not.
It's not the same. It's not the, yeah, like, but it's stunning when you're able to do a one beautiful long wide piece. Sometimes people may not have the premium to do.
Well, it's
to
hard.
one
There's not that many in this whole building. There's only like the Babenga we have, the Wanga we might have some single piece tops, but there's not that many single.
It's
pieces.
hard to do one piece. Imagine that tree. That tree
Yeah,
must
you
be
get logs
gigantic.
and they're that big, they rot in the middle, so it's hard to get a good solid log. There's available, but
Yeah.
like Costa Rica, which you see all that stuff there, you get some big logs out of Costa Rica.
What's your favorite place to get wood material from?
Favorite place? I don't know what you'd say with the favorite.
One of your favorite places. It's unfair to say
It's
the
a favorite. Well, a lot of stuff we don't go travel. So like I'll do California and Oregon and stuff, and that's kind of neat getting stuff from there. Costa Rica, we've done a number of times. I got to say that's my favorite place because I got to go to Costa Rica, see the birds. Because that's my other hobby. That's bird watching. So I got you go. But yeah, the Western coast. But we get a lot of local stuff here though. There's a lot of local logs we get.
Jen, do we have any questions?
Yes, there's one question. What woods are food safe?
It's an interesting one. I find they're all in
They're
theory
all food safe to me.
food safe. Some
You're not
some
gonna-
woods, like pressure treated wood is not food safe. Like if we go the opposite way, like if you're trying to be extra safe with food grade safe, I would say like fruit trees, like cherry tree would be definitely a safe one.
Yeah.
Pine seems very innocent.
Maple.
Some woods like are a little bit more,
My point is always, you're not going to ingest enough wood to worry about.
to worry about it.
You
Exactly.
can put a sealer on it, you'll seal
Make
anything out of
things
there.
food safe.
There's a few species like yew wood that people would say stay away from, but in general, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't.
Yeah, especially when you put the finish on it.
I'm probably more worried about the stuff you're eating that's on it than the board itself.
Yes, try to keep with a healthy diet. That's what we're trying to tell you. You should be reports only for healthy food.
No, it's not that. It's people worry about silly things, and I would never worry about it. Like how much you're going to cut and scrape off and ever eat. Like
This is true.
like-
And I think it's sacrilegious actually to, if somebody makes you a beautiful charcuterie board and then you start using a sharp knife on it, no, we're not using sharp knives. You're serving on the charcuterie board and you're keeping that board pristinely intact. And then you cut on plastic boards.
plastic.
Or I don't know.
You cut other wood boards.
Love,
There we go. Come on now.
something not made with love. So,
It serves its purpose though.
it does serve its purpose. So,
Now, what else do you got to?
I think we should explore some of these pieces over here. Look at these, look how tall these are, Chad. Look at this, it's amazing.
This is you know what this is, don't you?
But
It's granadillo.
oh, I definitely don't know.
No, this is heavy as lead and stuck between the other boards. But look at that one. That one's cool. Granadillo. It's got many names. Granadillo is just one of them. It's got a bunch of names that we just call it granadillo. They call it.
Where is this from?
That's from Central and South America.
Wow. And so when you're softening these edges, it's always important, like say you make this a tabletop, you want to chamfer this edge a little bit so that it's not a sharp edge and chamfer this edge up.
This one I wouldn't touch this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
a
after
little bit.
you actually like
Yeah, you gotta
sand
take a
and
look
flat
at it.
sanded, that should go smoother
You
too.
can take a bit off. I wouldn't take.
But definitely you want to ease this corner so that like this type of stuff.
Just don't run into the edge of it.
Ripped off and doesn't hurt children, but is it stunning? Oh, we do. I believe, Jen, is there a question?
Yeah, we have a few now. So Bob is asking, he must be in the US maybe, for
Hi, Bob.
exotic wood shipments. If you're shipping wood into the US, is it affected by tariffs?
We've not seen it yet. Sometimes if it's not I heard that if it's not a manufactured product, that there wasn't, but things are changing daily or weekly. I know that we bring a lot of wood in from the US. The wood industry is one of the industries that's really tied together a lot in the US, and there's a lot crossing the border, like sometimes 2 or 3 times. But if it's not manufactured, if it's a raw product to be manufactured, there's no tariffs either way, but I could be wrong tomorrow. Might be right today.
Cross our fingers, Mel. Cross our fingers, because I buy wood too, and I don't want it to be affected.
So we have nothing that's tariff affected yet.
Okay, good answer. So,
Okay.
you know what that means, everybody? Buy your lumber now. Go to Exotic Woods and buy it before anything could happen. That's what we're stressing right now.
We'll try to keep it that way, but.
Okay, another question. Is it okay to allow wood to air dry before working with it as long as it stays around 8%?
Oh yeah, you can store lumber. Like obviously this person, is their lumber dry? If it's dry to start with, you can just keep it in a dry environment. If you got wood where it's at and you're keeping an area you're not so sure about, I wrap it up. When we have wood in our shop and we're working on projects, we usually cover it up. Even at night, we cover them up.
Yeah, and put stickers in between, as you can see. So
We do, or we stack it tight together. So what happens is people buy a bunch of wood. They have all these machine products. They come to us and they stack it and they put it against the wall. People have put it against the wall, against the register. And they come the next day and why is it all up? So we tell people, you're getting into good condition from us, wrap it up if you're not going to work on it. Don't leave anything laying on your workbench at night that's flat. If it's a thin board, I'll guarantee you the ends will be up in the morning, especially in the wintertime. You get heat blowing on one side, the cells are always moving. So wood, when you talk about live edge, the edges aren't live, but the rest of it is.
Yeah.
Because it always moves. So you should keep it covered or seal it, or at least put a bit of cardboard on top.
Yeah.
But especially a laminated top, you'll get it to go like a banana overnight even.
Wow.
Even if it's dry wood.
It's crazy.
And if it's wet wood, it goes even more.
One time I've seen a trick, and it's really stress. It's just a fun trick. It's like, just say you have a piece of wood and it's slightly bowed, like slightly cupped, and then you put a little moisture on it and you lay it against the counter overnight. It sometimes somewhat corrects itself.
What side do you put the moisture on?
I always put cup side down, in my opinion. Cup side down, so then it kind of.
Cup, so you're right, but the cup
down.
Side is your short side.
Yeah.
And the cells have constricted, so you want to expand those cells. So you want to. So a good trick is not even moist. Some people moisten the floor. You put it on the floor, and then it goes up. But you got to watch it.
Just because it can over exaggerate and become that frown can be upside down and become a smile.
It'll move. Just keep flipping it over.
You have to be mindful. Whatever you're doing, just be very mindful every day to check on it until it gets to the right straightness. Because you always, another trick also, when you're working with live edge, when you're trying to cut, like say, Chad, a piece like this, and you see how this has a wild edge to it, and it just say I wanted to cut it parallel. So on a table saw, I would, even though it's a pity to cut off such a pretty edge, but I want to cut it parallel for a table, like there and there, I would try to put the straightest piece along the table saw fence, and then prop some material in there to make sure it's nice and tight, clamp it down, and then cut one side, flip it over, and measure from the side cut over, so it's the same distance. Do you have any tricks for that?
Or you do that on track saw.
Track saw is very safe. I like to live on the dangerous side of a panel saw.
So yeah, track saw is going to be safer for you for that.
Got it. I believe we have one more question, Chad.
Yes, one more question and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
So, best way, in your opinion, to waterproof if I want to make a kitchen island with a double sink in it?
Oh, that's fancy.
We've done many of them. You can use the hard wax oils. They all work. You just have to keep it maintained. So make it waterproof. I don't like the word proof. We can make it water resistant.
Epoxy finish.
I don't know. We've never done any epoxy. People have done them.
One in a bathroom where it was an epoxy finish. It I got it done in a shop that took several. It's almost like a boat coat.
Yeah.
Like boat coating. So it's so sealed in that water gets on it. Sometimes the water hazes to a blue haze, but it will always come back to its original finish. So I'd say a marine finish or a.
No, we use all of them with Rubio Monocoat or Osmo. They'll both can handle the water.
Really, eh?
Yes, they can. Like we do at many restaurants. Our washroom in their shop.
Yeah. I don't go to the men's bathroom. Do you have a nicer bathroom in the men's
Oh,
bathroom?
sure, it's nicer.
I think we need to talk about this, everybody.
But it has Rubio in it. And it's been
Why
there for
would we
years.
have a nicer bathroom?
It's got a live.
I think we need to take a poll and have a nice bathroom in the females.
Your bathroom's nice too, just not as nice.
I got it.
You don't have a wooden top.
Okay, so that's about it. That will conclude our time on Live Edge. I thank Mel, who's amazing, that took time out of his busy schedule. And thank you, Jen and Chad and everybody to do with Canadian Woodworking. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to either talk to me, Canadian Woodworking, or Exotic Woods, and buy local wood.
All right. Thank you, Lara. Thank you, Mel. And thank you to Exotic Woods for sponsoring this session. And thanks for everyone for tuning in tonight and for all of your great questions. It's always good to hear from the audience. It's the community that makes these webinars really so valuable and personable. If you are here and you're not a member of Canadian Woodworking, we'd love you to head over to canadianwoodworking.com and take a look at all the perks you can get, and so that you can join more of these very informative webinars. So have a great night, everyone, and we will see you next time.